Alright, welcome back to the Blender 3 Docwalk. This document is aligning for the view, so let's jump right in. Alright, so everything that we are going to be talking about can be found right up here in the View menu. If you come down to Align View, these seven options with alright, this sub-menu here. Okay, so first we're going to talk about this top one, Align View to Active. Okay, for this, I think, let's see, let's do this. This should make it a bit on the easier side to kind of see what's going on here. I'm going to just make a couple of duplicates here, but in a fashion that makes it just easy to tell. Whoops. That it's, no, look at me being smart, that it's you know, where the symmetries are and how that's working. So let's do this, duplicate, pull it up one more time. Alright, so now we've got kind of this little corner here. Okay, so now we know that hitting 7 brings you to a top view, right? Like that. Hitting 1 brings you to the front, and 3 to the side. Okay. Well, if we jump up here and take a look at our global compass, okay, up here in the corner, this kind of gives us an idea of how we're oriented in the global space. And you'll notice this drop down here has global as an option, as well as a local. If you're new to Blender, I'll explain differences to you really quickly. Global space is global space. This will always be X. This will always be Y, and up and down will always be Z. And you can see how they're oriented in respect to each other when we take a look at the compass gizmo. However, that does not mean that for each object that is on our stage, or that is within our scene, has the same orientation. Okay, so we can align our cubes according to the global axes, or we can align and tweak them and work with them according to their own local axes. Now, in order to turn your in order to turn your axes on so you can see the local axes of each of your objects, if you come down here, okay, we're in the object properties tab here. If we come down to Viewport display, it says show name axes, and so I'm going to turn axes on here, and you can see that I can now see the axes for this top cube. Okay, whoops. So X, Y, and Z, and you can see that they align with the global axes, right? Well, if I tweak this, right, I can actually change or alter them so that they don't align with the scene's global axes. So there I go. Okay, now the cube's x-axis is quite different from the global x-axis. The cube's z-axis is quite different from the global z-axis. Okay, so that is what is meant by local axes versus global axes. Okay, now in much the same way that I can hit 7 and get a top view, you know, globally, hit Control 7 and get a bottom view, hit 1 and get a front view, hit 3 and get a view from the object's right side, or Control 3 and get my view from the object's left side. Okay, let's go back to front. Actually, let's kind of get a more 3D-ish perspective going here. If I want to do the same thing but in relationship to my selected object's local axes, we can use Shift as the modifier. So I am going to hold down Shift and tap 7, and you will see that I am now oriented as if I am looking straight down from the cube's z-axis. If I hold Shift down or Shift Control, right? Remember, Control flips you to the other side. Shift Control 7, I am now looking at the bottom, or the cube's bottom, not in any way related to the actual global axial alignment. So Shift 1, Shift 3, Control Shift 1, and Control Shift 3. So pretty cool. Very useful in complicated situations. It can get confusing very quickly. So I don't know what else to say about that. It's just really useful. Okay, next, align active camera to view. So I'm looking at my cube in this, according to the cube's local axes, and now I decide I want to have my camera positioned exactly where I'm seeing it, right now. So this is Control Alt Numpad 0. Okay, so Control Alt Numpad 0, and the camera is brought perfectly into alignment from the perspective that my viewport is looking at it from. Okay, now this next one is actually similar to that one. You can see my camera here now, right? It's looking at that cube from its, from that perspective. Why is that being weird? Let's see. Oh my gosh. Okay, hit 1. There we go. I know what I'm doing now. Oh, I was in orthographic. That's why it felt so weird. Okay, so you can see that the camera's tilted and all lopsided and askew, looking up perfectly on this cube's, what was that last thing that I can't remember, left side or something. Okay, now let's say I want that camera, it's here. Let's turn its okay, so I've turned the camera's local axis on, right? Well, you can see that the camera's z-axis goes straight, is where your eye would be, right? Looking through the camera. So the camera, or the z-axis, runs through the viewer's eye, through the center of the lens, out through into the world, right? So this is the camera's z-axis, which has a lot to do with this next operation. Okay, so let's say if we just kind of fill this scene with a bunch of parallel lines parallel to the camera's z-axis, all right? And we want to move the camera so that it stays parallel to its current z-axis, but move it so that it is looking directly at a different object. Okay, that's what this next operation does. So I'm going to select this cube. Actually, I'm going to select that cube, and I'm going to grab it and bring it way out here. Okay, and now I'm going to go up to View, go down to Align View, go to Align Active Camera to Selected, and you can see now that the camera's orientation, its z-axis has maintained its new z-axis as parallel to its original z-axis, and its orientation is still the same. Its local orientation is the same. The only thing that has changed, the only difference is that we have moved it so that this cube is directly, like if I hit 0, it is now directly looking at the newly selected object. Okay, this next oh, whoops. Haha, wrong button. Wrong shortcut. All right, this next one, let's reconfigure ourselves here. Is center cursor and frame all. All right, this is cool. Shift C. I'm just going to hit Shift C. Actually, you know what? Before we do that, I'm going to get my 3D cursor and stick it off in the middle of nowhere. Now I'm going to hit Shift C. Okay, what's going to happen is my 3D cursor is going to be recentered in the origin of my scene, and I'm going to be moved to a position where I can see everything that I have thus far placed in the scene. So I guess to further accentuate, what's going on here, let's duplicate a few things and stick them off way wherever, and I don't know. Okay, there we go. And then we're going to zoom into this guy. All right, so Now I'm going to hit Shift C, my 3D cursor, which is clear over here in the distance, is going to be recentered to the origin of my scene. And as I said, I'm going to be put to a position where I can see everything that I have thus far placed within my scene. So Shift C. So I can see everything now that I've added to the scene, and my 3D cursor is now perfectly centered at the origin of my scene. The next option doesn't have a default shortcut, but obviously you can change it if you want a shortcut for it. This is center view to cursor. So when I click on this, it's simply going to move my view so that the 3D cursor is at the center of my view, like that. Now it is placed in the exact center of my view, or rather my view has moved so that the 3D cursor is now in the center of the view. All right, and last we're going to talk about view lock. View lock is interesting. Okay, yeah, let's see. If we go to, if we go to preferences and navigation, right? Remember, this orbit around selection is selected, and just as a reminder, let's get back to this. If I select something, as I orbit it, it will be the center of the orbit, right? It's what I am orbiting around. No matter what I select, that is what will be the center as I orbit around my scene. However, let's say for some reason I want to have, where is this big cube? I want this big cube to remain the center of my orbit, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my large cube. I'm going to go up to View, come down to Align View, and hit View Lock to Active. So click. Okay, now this cube's its origin here is I am locked to it. So it doesn't matter what else I have selected. If I, select this cube over here, as I orbit, I am still orbiting around that large cube there. If I select, this bundle over here, I am still orbiting around the large cube there. It will remain the focal point as I orbit around my scene until I go up to View, down to Align View, and down to View Lock Clear, which will then clear the view lock and allow me to use other things as my orbital center. Alright, so that is it for my viewport alignment and orientation options. I will see you guys next time as we talk about perspective mode and orthographic mode. As always, thank you for watching. I deeply appreciate it. Please like, share, and subscribe. It will help the channel with its momentum as the channel builds, as the audience builds, and as we get more and more content up. Alright, thanks for watching. See you guys.